Hello and welcome back. This is Bert, cabinet making instructor at College of the Redwoods. In this video I'm going to show you how to glue up a frame and panel drawer front for a typical kitchen cabinet. I have here an example of what I'm going to glue up here. This is a frame and panel. We have rails, we have stiles, and we have a flat panel inside. This drawer front will provide us with a 1/2 inch overlay for a typical 5-inch opening top drawer in a kitchen drawer stack. For this project I'm using 6mm maple plywood for the center panel. The cope and stick pattern has a 15-degree bevel on the outside visible face, and the back side is flat. These drawer fronts are 13/16 thick. I will sand them on the wide belt sander to bring them down to 3/4 of an inch, and then finish sanding them to 220 grit. For this process, I have laid out here on the bench our rails and stiles and 2 bar clamps. The cope and stick profile is fairly snug, and so to ease this process and make the gluing process a little bit more efficient and go together better, I utilized a shoulder plane and I cleaned up the back of the tenon on the coped end. I just took a few passes off there, just shaved them down so that the joint would go together easily by hand, and I wouldn't need a mallet to drive them together. When we're gluing up this drawer front, we need to be careful not to get a lot of squeeze out onto the front of our panel. The final product has a very small panel that's visible, and any glue that squeezes out into that area is very difficult to remove. So I want to make sure that I'm really clean there and real careful about preventing glue squeeze out. I've got me a glue bottle, glue brush, paper towel, and a block of wood and a mallet. And that's just in case things slide out of alignment as I put the glue on and I need to tap them back in alignment. I'm going to start with one coped end on a rail, put a nice bead of glue on there, spread it on both sides. Any excess I put into the groove, and then I'll put a little bit on the matching surface of the stile. Slide those together and be real careful about lining up the edges. You can push it down on the bench, tap it down if necessary, and wipe glue off. I'm not too concerned about squeeze out on the outside face because I'm going to sand them. Alright. For the panel, here I've already cut a piece 2 1/8 inch wide. This is 6mm maple plywood. I'm going to watch out for mineral spots or stains, and I'm going to put those towards the inside. This is the nicer face. I'm going to put that on the bevel side. Go ahead and put the panel in there. It's a little bit shorter than the tenon to tenon length of our rail. I can go ahead and put some glue on the other rail of the second piece. It is not necessary to glue the panel in place. I have a pretty good fit. It's not going to rattle around. I tend to spot glue it, what I call spot gluing. Just put a little bit on the panel here and there just to prevent it from rattling. Now I can stand it up and slide the other rail in place. Now I'll glue the other end. Put a little bit of glue on the coped ends, also known as a tenon. Coat them well. I tend to use too much glue then I have squeeze out and a mess to clean up. So be sparing with your glue. It's always difficult to know exactly how much you need. There we go. If we need a mallet, we can tap it together, but that goes together pretty well. Now I'm going to use bar clamps, and we're going to clamp this together here. One thing about bar clamps that you have to be aware of is the jaws here taper slightly towards the bar. So as you torque this hand crank down, it puts a lot of pressure on your panel, or your drawer front in this case, and it can bow in the ends, and it can make the panel, or twist it out of flat. It can bow up the stiles. So I'm going to bring this in, just snug it, and then look at my joinery. Now this piece is not quite lined up, so I'm going to put it back on the bench, use my block of wood, and tap that rail down from the back side. There, it's flush. That one looks flush, so we'll go back to the clamp. And I'm going to hold it up off the bar just a little bit. This will be just a temporary clamp until I get the other one on, making sure that the joint is lined up. So there we can see that that one is not. So I'll go back to my block of wood on the back side. And it's okay to pound on this because it's a drawer front. If I damage it a little bit, it's never going to be seen because it will be up against a drawer box. Now I'm going to put this clamp on the opposite side. Make sure you can still see. Yeah, good. And torque that down. Now it's really important that you look down the length of the drawer front. So I like to sight down it and look to see if my stiles are twisting. If the clamp's forcing this out in one direction or the other, then I won't have a flat drawer front. So I need to look and adjust that now before that glue starts to set. Just changing the position of the clamp can alter the angle and straighten. It can make the piece flatter, or it can make it worse. So here I'm going to angle the clamp, because this piece was angled this way, this style. I moved the jaw out on this clamp, put the torque, and now it's pulling it back in line. And I think I went a little too far. We're going to go a little bit farther in, tighten it back down, and that looks pretty good. Wipe a little glue off here. Now I'm going to lay it down. I have some gaps on the front here. That's from my other clamp coming loose. So now we'll flip it back up, put this clamp back on. So what I'm looking for is flush edges here, tight glue joints on the front. This is the most important face. This is visible. When the drawer is installed and everything's done, we don't want any gaps on these joints. Oh, I'm looking at the back. Looking at the wrong side there. There we go. Got to look at the front. No gaps, no gaps, flat, and flat. And there we have it. There's a little bit of squeeze out in the one corner. I'm going to let it dry for about 10-15 minutes until it gels, and then I'll get a chisel and I'll scrape it out of there. And there we have a drawer front.